there, this is Donna Reiners, and it is around noon on Friday, and today is time for Friday Fellowship, which honestly we have renamed to either Friendship Friday or Friday Friendship. Haven't really decided. Gonna see how it rocks out. Jennifer is not with me right now. She has some things going on, but she might join. We'll see how the time goes through. Hello, Rebecca. Good to see you. Hi, Janie. Good to see you. Hello there. How are you? Nice to see you, Miss Tara. Is it Tara or Tara? Hi, Charlotte. Nice to see y'all. This might be the best time to do it. I usually do our friendship time around 9. Hi there. However, it worked out really better to do it at noon today. And so we'll just see how we roll. Hello, Miss Cherie. Oh my goodness. Cherie, I will be in Colorado this weekend with a jam-packed morning till night time schedule because our daughter is getting married. And so it's a weekend, fabulous fun with friends and family, celebrating until the actual day of the wedding. I was hoping I would be able to see you, and I'm not sure if it's going to happen, but I would love to. Maybe we can figure that out. I'm just not sure. I can't guarantee, and I apologize for that. However, maybe I can get a ticket in and come in another time, because I have some friends who live there. So anyway, blessings to y'all today. I thought I'd just give it a moment or so. If you would like to share this on your personal page or your business page or something, please feel free. A day to encourage other friends and family. Yes, yes, a wonderful weekend celebration to look forward to. Absolutely. It is a season change, and today I want to talk about seasons. It is a season change. Whenever you get married, that is a season change. Whenever someone dies, it is a season change. We just had a close friend pass away unexpectedly, but I know in God's time it wasn't unexpected. And so it's a season change, a season change. What do you do in your seasons? Listen, I see mostly women on. There are seasons that change when your hormones change. And you know, seasons change in men when hormones change as well. There are seasonal changes. When you live in a part of the country where every single season brings forth different kind of leaves, who lives in that kind of place? Who lives there? I think Ohio has season change, doesn't it? Is that not true? Don't you see the seasons? Winter, spring, summer, fall. Don't you see the seasons? You have snow there. You have leaves that change for autumn, fall, springtime flowers, summer heat, right? Well, I'm from Texas, and we mostly have one long season. We might have one day of cold. I remember years ago, I flew to Texas when I lived in California, and the weather was hot, but the day I arrived, it was literally freezing. I'm like, only in Texas is it 22 degrees one day and the next day 90. It's like, what is this? I don't know that I really believe in global warming, you know? So I just think it's Texas warming, and Texas is like that. And so my point is, sometimes you don't know the season has changed if the weather stays the same. So you would have to have a tune in on the inside, not the outside. If you gauge your seasons by your experiences, then you're going to live from experience to experience to experience. So that means if you have an experience that is really rough emotionally, then you will live by the experience of those emotions. So you have to decide in a season like in Texas, where it's hot all the time. If you live by what's hot all the time, you're not going to know when your private season changes. So you have to decide how you're going to live from season to season. You cannot let your experience determine how you're going to live in that experience. So, for instance, I have some folks I've walked through some life with the last few years in a pastoring coaching, more of a coaching type thing, helping their brains function in an appropriate way so they can handle their seasons of life, so they can handle their job, their families, complications, the ups and the downs, their own changes, their own weather changes, right? And recently I've talked to several people who have gone through these changes, and they have noticed some heaviness, several of them. But I knew immediately it really isn't that you have a heaviness. It's honestly you're carrying more responsibility than you've carried in the past. So before, maybe they would shut down. Before, there would be a season where they would shut down if something came to them that was devastating. But now they're not shutting down. Now they're not going to bed. Now they're not taking a nap. Now they're not taking a bath. When all heck breaks loose, now they're staying with the program. Now they're staying in the life, and they're not disappearing. So there's more responsibility coming their way. And now, instead of shutting down, they're taking on the challenge. Instead of avoiding the challenge, they're taking on the challenge. Instead of avoiding the sadness, they're allowing themselves to feel sadness without that sadness taking them. And now they're also being able to rejoice when something good comes their way, instead of avoiding having any kind of celebration for themselves. Listen, I'm going to tell you the same thing I told them. You get to decide your season. You are in charge of your season. You're in charge of you. You get to decide how you walk out your today. Someone else may have a very horrible, depressed, agonizing, or bitter mood. You get to decide to separate yourself from their emotions, but yet stay in relationship. Many people get around folks that have what I see the term now as vibrations. Vibrations aren't new, frequencies aren't new, emotions aren't new, all those things are not new. We're just now having more of the technological understanding of how they actually work. So if you're around a low vibration, in other words, someone who is in depression or despair, and you're with them all the time, certainly you have a tendency to lean into that and become more like them. However, you get to decide you. If you avoid people like that at all costs, and you're only around people that are happy, you're going to have a tendency to avoid situations that come in real life that bring along with it hard things. You will be a person that will have a tendency to avoid going to funerals or weeping with someone who's weeping. You'll only want to rejoice with people that are rejoicing. But yet, then you'll avoid relationships that bring challenges that are deeper than just rejoicing. I want to encourage you today, you get to decide your season. You get to decide who you're going to be in any given situation. Now, it may take some thought on your part. It may not be automatic for you to just rejoice with somebody who's rejoicing, and it may not be automatic for you to weep with someone who's weeping. But you can stop, take a moment. You can partner with your greatest partner inside and say, okay, who am I supposed to be in this situation with this person who is going through this season in their life? Maybe you don't live in their household and they're in great despair. You can decide, how are you supposed to walk out life with them, or are you going to ditch them completely? I don't know relationally if avoiding a low vibration just because they're in despair and depression, you can't be around them. I don't think that that is love. I don't think that's how God shows love toward us. God does not desert us. He doesn't take a hike when we have something hard come to us. So if you have your greatest partner inside living in you, and you're around someone who has a vibration or a frequency or an emotion that brings you down, maybe the answer is not you avoiding them. Maybe the answer is you rising up in who you really are and being a voice of encouragement and a voice of strength. I'm not saying condemn them for being down. No, I'm saying come alongside them and ask God, okay, God, who am I supposed to be in this situation? How can I encourage this person in this season? How can I give them my hand and pull them up out without me going in and becoming a part of the problem and a part of the issue? You get to decide. Now listen, there are times when maybe you're not strong enough to be that person who goes inside that situation and pulls them out. Maybe you will get sucked in. But if it's fear that keeps you from going to help that person, or just to be their friend, or to just have coffee with them, or to just talk to them on the phone, or whatever, if it's fear, then you're already a problem. You're already in a situation and you don't recognize it. Maybe you think that you don't have their problem. But if you're fearful of that situation, then you're already a low vibration, because fear is the opposite of love, and love is the vibration. Love is the highest frequency. Love is the overcoming emotion. Love is the emotion that overcomes everything, right? So I just want to encourage you to find that place on the inside of you. And it is there. And maybe it might require you taking some effort. If you've lived in despair, if you've lived in depression, if you've had low self-esteem as long as you remember, if you have dreaded situations as long as you remember, if you have avoided responsibility and are not able to stay with a job, follow through with a job, follow up with things of that nature, or other things like that. If you've avoided them, then you're just not strong in that yet. But it doesn't mean you won't be. It doesn't mean you have to always stay out of the game. That's not what that means. Just like I started out in the video telling you, I have some clients who are handling more responsibility, and they're like, whoa, this is a little bit exhausting and this is overwhelming. And I'm like, no, you're not overwhelmed, because you used to go to bed. You're not overwhelmed at all. Actually, what's happening is you're handling more responsibility than you've ever handled. You're engaged in life. You're engaged in life. Listen, when you are engaged in life, you're going to have more responsibility. You're going to have a tendency to have things rise up in you and have some sort of opinion, right? An opinion. Now, this is where it gets sticky, because if you think your opinion is a greater opinion than the opinions around you, and you think, well, look at them, they can't even handle that. Well, just remember, maybe you couldn't handle it a couple years ago. So, loving yourself, receiving yourself, accepting yourself where you are, and moving out of a situation where you are depressed, you're in despair, you have low self-esteem, you're paranoid all the time, you know, the lonely, deep loneliness, all those things that want to pull us into a cave and keep us in a cave. If you're accustomed to that, and then you little by little come out of that cave and you're in the sunlight, it might seem a little bright to you. But if you'll keep staying out there, if you'll keep engaging outside in the sunlight, if you'll not retreat back in, if you'll not retreat, but you'll stay, if you'll stay, and then maybe a week down the road, you might take another step, a little bit farther. Listen, everybody handles these things differently. Everybody has different tools to help them along the way. Your greatest partner inside will lead you with himself out of this place of darkness. And there are times when he allows us to use tools. There are times when he allows us to engage supernaturally. There are supernatural things available to us to walk out life in strength and in that high vibration, that high frequency, than if you remain in the other. It requires more effort and more energy to remain depressed and in despair and tired than it does to engage and to move out of a place, moving out of that cave into a season of life. It feels stronger because you're not used to it. It feels exhausting because you're not accustomed to maybe that responsibility. Maybe you're not accustomed to 10 very serious things happening at one time and they're overwhelming you. Maybe you're not accustomed to it, but it doesn't mean you're not equipped for it. It doesn't mean you can't handle it. It doesn't mean you can't walk through it. It doesn't mean you have to be overwhelmed by them. It doesn't mean that. You get to decide your season. And the greatest way to decide your season is to stop and engage with your greatest partner inside. To stop and engage with Father, Son, and Spirit and say, who am I in these situations? Who are you in these situations? What am I supposed to do in these situations? And what are you doing in these situations? So that you're not crisscrossing trying to be God. And yet you're also not waiting for him to do what's your part. You know? And so that's one way of how to walk out a season. Also, I have a little note here. When you are rewiring, basically rewiring your brain in those areas and trying to determine how to do this and how to do this and how to do this. I know recently I told someone, it's just solid coaching to just say, do the next thing, just do the next thing, just do the next thing. However, if you're talking to someone who has habitually had 1,000 things going on in their brain at one time, it's very difficult for them to find just the next thing. The next thing might look like 100 things to them, and they have no clue what to do and where to turn. In that case, that rewiring in that part of your brain, you might have to do 10 things at one time, a little bit each one, just to get moving. And getting still and inside of you, seeing yourself accomplishing those things that you find so overwhelming, taking the 10 minutes, you could probably do in 10 minutes in your heart in partnership with God, and to get the technological information, to get the insight he wants you to have, to engage in the emotion that is necessary for you to accomplish the tasks in front of you. If you could partner with him, either as you're going out to do them or quietly before you head out, I think that you might find, I know it's been helpful for me, I have found that I've been able to accomplish these tasks easier, with less stress, more from a place of rest, when I acknowledge him in my process and acknowledge my part. And literally just partner with the Father, Son, and the Spirit before I ever go out to do whatever it is that God wants me to do. Listen, all Jesus said was follow me. Follow me and I'll do this. Follow me and I'll do that. And so following him is the key. And then he shows you how. The how as you move. That's one way. Also, in the place where you're gaining more responsibility, sometimes in that season of responsibility where you're taking responsibility for things that maybe you haven't taken responsibility for before, and you're trying to keep up with it and all those kind of things, in that place, taking the responsibility to like yourself and to love yourself and not avoid you is very important. Because then you're seeing things, and when you fail in something, and you will fail, when you have a failure of some sort, doesn't mean you're a failure, but when you have a failure of some sort, you're going to approach it from a place that you like yourself and you love yourself instead of condemning yourself. Little kids, when they first start to walk, normally they don't just stand up and take off. Normally. I know there are some occasional kids that do, that don't crawl but stand up and get going. But even in that, when you look at the science, children who just stand up and go and they bypass and they avoid the crawling, in the brain, it stops a development that is very necessary for them later in life. And so the crawling part is important. The transition part is important. The process is important. And you loving yourself when you fall down is important. You loving yourself when you're in a place where you're weeping is important. You loving yourself when you're in a place of rejoicing is important. You're loving yourself when you make a huge mistake is important. You loving yourself when you have a great big yay is important. These are all very important. And then you loving someone else when they have a failure, when they make a mistake, instead of just pointing the finger and saying, you know what the heck? You know better than that. Well, we all know better than a lot of things. But it's not always necessary to point it out. Now, if you have earned relationship with that person and they're also able to point out things to you, then you have a mutual exchange going on. That's a whole different ballgame. But if you're the only one pointing out things to someone else, it's probably not going to come across as love to them because they already know they're screwed up, just like you knew you were screwed up, right? So I just want to encourage you when you're on the way to where you're going, if you will stop and give yourself the moment, A, to accomplish those things that you need to accomplish with him inside your mind before you move forward, and B, stop and receive the love of God inside of you in those places where you feel like you failed, when you feel like you are a failure, when you feel like you are condemning yourself, and then love the person next to you from the place of love, because if you're condemning you, you are going to condemn the person next to you. If you're critical of you, you're going to criticize the person next to you. Listen, we grew up with a dad who was my way or the highway. And so it did not matter what you did, it was wrong. It was very, very rare you got any accolade for anything. If you hung a picture on the wall and there was not a yay, you hung a picture, thank you. It was, hey, it's crooked, you need to fix that. So validation was very rare in our household for any of us. And so none of us grew up validating other people, or we grew up over-validating other people and under-validating ourselves because we didn't want other people to experience what we experienced. And so sometimes there's compensation, or spending all this time avoiding you in the mirror. And spending all this time going to all these people to validate them and to love them while you're ignoring you. The extreme can happen as well. And remember that while you are moving forward, in loving yourself and taking responsibility, in loving others, remember in the process, matter of fact, I did a video, I think last year called Process the Progress, I believe. I have to find that. Maybe I'll put the link down below. But it's a little 3-minute teaching on experiencing yourself and walking forward through the process. So while you're in the process, remember also, forgiving yourself is really, truly necessary. Letting yourself off the hook. It is not attractive to continually condemn yourself for your error. And it is not attractive to continually condemn someone else for theirs. Now, that being said, if you have someone around you that is already in a place where they feel condemned, it wouldn't matter what you say to them. They're going to feel like you're condemning them. It does not matter. As a matter of fact, if you're around somebody who works in high-pressure situations where they're in professional, corporate, or even religious places where they have to be on their top game all the time and there is no freedom to make a mistake, there's no freedom to err, those people don't take lightly to anything that even looks like criticism, that even looks like you're correcting them, because they get that all day long. And so in their social world, they want to have a place where they're free from the pressure of the criticism and the pressure of the condemnation and the pressure of having to be on, having to be perfect, can't do anything wrong. You know, that's not just in corporations, that's in religious, corporate, and social. It can be in all those things. And so, in the season of life where you have seasons that go through, you get to decide your season. You get to decide who you are in that season with you and with the person that's with you. You get to decide. You get to decide who you're supposed to be. You get to ask God what He is in that situation. And you get to ask yourself, what are you supposed to be for you or for that other person? And there are times when you're doing more for another person than they're doing for themselves. There are seasons like that because everyone's at a different place and we're helping one another walk out life together. And so if you get to a place where you're helping someone and you're feeling taken advantage of and you allow the pressure of you feeling like you're being taken advantage of take over you, it will stop your relationship with that other person. So you get to choose you. You get to choose to continue to be loving and kind. You continue to give, right? To give. Because that's what Father did. Father gave. And what did Jesus do? Jesus served. He didn't serve with the expectation to get anything in return. He told people, hey, follow me. And people followed him. They said, hey, who are you? Hey, I want to come with you. You know, and there might be some that want to come with you. And in that place, they're going to learn from you. And they're in our world where we don't know everything and we're still learning things. They're also going to learn through your mistakes. You're going to also learn through other people's mistakes. If you decide you love someone and you really admire them and you just want to live with them, like I want what you've got, I want who you've got, I want everything about your life. I guarantee behind closed doors in those situations, you're going to find yourself where you're going to need to forgive them because they're human and they make mistakes too. And they have moods too. And they have things like that too. And so you get to forgive those that disappoint you. You get to forgive those that are on a pedestal in your mind, but they're only on a pedestal because you put them there. You get to forgive them. You get to forgive yourself for putting them there, putting them where God belongs, right? You get to forgive yourself for putting yourself in a place where God belongs, where you're on the way to where you're going. This is life. This is being a friend to you. This is being a friend to others. This is God's being a friend for you and to you as well. And then lastly, remember that wherever you are, there you are. And wherever God is, there you are. And wherever you are, there is God. What do I mean? Wherever you succeed, look to God and say, thank you for this success. Whenever you fail, look to God and say, thank you for being here with me and not departing me, not leaving me. Where you are rejoicing, look to God and say, thank you. Thank you for this season of rejoicing. Where you are weeping, look to God and say, thank you so much. In this place of weeping, you are with me. I am not alone. So that whether you're rejoicing, you rejoice with the King, with the Lord, with your best friend, Jesus. And when you're weeping, you're with the Lord. You're with your best friend, Jesus, because He will never leave you. He will not leave you in your greatest mistake, and He will not leave you on your highest pinnacle. He will be the same God no matter where you are. There He is. No matter where you are, He is the same. He is not going to shoot you full of a bunch of air and make you all arrogant and polluted with thinking more highly than yourself. He's also not going to shoot you with condemnation and cause you to stumble and make you feel less of yourself when you err. Our God is the same in every season and every situation. And that means you can be the same in every season, in every situation. You can be stable. And listen, in that place of stability, there is an ability. And in that ability, you have the God of all gods, the King of all kings, the Lord of all lords, the life of all life living inside of you to guide you, to love you, to live in you, to walk with you, to give you advice, or on your just your saddest moment, and to be happy with you when you're having the time of your life. And that God also, when you are rejoicing and you're on the top of your game, he'll give you insight on how to walk with someone else who just lost their spouse or lost their best friend or got diagnosed with something that was unexpected, so that you can also weep with them while you're rejoicing. It's not becoming two people. It's just accessing the one. The Father, Son, and Spirit, the three that live inside you, the one. It's accessing the three that live inside you, the one, to be life for someone else, to be life for you, to be life for humanity. And listen, sometimes you don't even have to say the name of Jesus. Why is that? Because sometimes you can have relationships with people that don't even know what you believe. They may watch you months. They may watch you years. They may watch you from a distance. They may watch you up close. They may be in your corporate setting. You may not even know their name, but they will watch you. They will see, are you true? Are you real? Did you just experience that and you're still at work? Or you're maintaining a kindness in a situation where somebody else would have blasted that other person. Eventually, that kind of person will come to you privately and say, okay, how is it you're able to do that? Well, what is it you know that I don't know? And that's when you have access to say, you know what? There's a Father, a Son, and a Spirit. There's three living inside me, the one. That's when you get to share with them who your best friend is. You get to share with them who their best friend is. You get to share with them that when they were in their mother's womb, God created them, and that somewhere along the way, this is their day for them to say, hey, I want to know you too. And then they can begin a partnership, and then you can either help them along the way in their partnership and helping them know how to love and be loved, or you can just trust Holy Spirit to take them on to the next stage of their life, because God is the one who's faithful. He knows exactly where each one is. And so you can love them, because that is the only thing that we are required to do. Love is always the answer. And listen, love is the highest frequency. Love is the highest vibration. Love is the greater emotion. And love overcomes. And love covers. And I know there are many that just call them vibrations, and that's fine. And there are many just call them frequencies, and that's fine. And there are many in those circles where they won't even acknowledge God. They just call there's some kind of power somewhere. It's like whatever works for you, right? But I'm telling you, listen, don't shoot me down. But there are some that just bow to the universe and thank the universe for forgiving them. Thank the universe for all these things. And that's well and good. But you know what we have access to? Father, Son, and Spirit, the three living inside me, the one, the three living inside you, the one. I believe in the one that created the universe. I believe in the one that holds the universe in his hands. What's more powerful? The universe and what the universe has to say, or the one who holds the universe? I don't know. I don't think there's a match. But if you believe it's the universe right now, while you're on the way to where you're going, hey, rock on. Rock on. But if you're interested in meeting the one that holds the universe, I'm happy to talk to you privately and share with you some of my journey. Because there is a real person, not just a planet, not just constellations, not just stars, not just these things. It's a real person that created us in his image. And he loves us exactly where we are while we're on the way to where we're going. So I just want to bless you today to be you in your season. Do not allow the season to determine who you are. You determine who you're going to be in your season. You determine who you're going to be in the season of someone with you. And if you find yourself faltering, you find yourself not knowing how to respond in a season, just stop. Take a few minutes, pull back. Access the three that live inside you, the one, and say, okay, how am I supposed to respond in this season? Who are you in this season? Who am I in this season? How am I supposed to act and do? And what's my part here? What's my part there? And that compass, that inner compass, will bring you clarity, will bring you insight, will bring you direction. And if you don't have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 list of things to do, that's okay. Just take a deep breath. And just face those things. And the ones who live inside you will give you the insight that you need to be the responsible person in those situations, one thing at a time. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. You are loved. You are forgiven. You are powerful. And you are not alone. On the darkest time of your life where you feel alone, you're not alone. And in the greatest day of your life, where you've never reached a greater fame, never reached a greater place of notoriety, you're not alone. Because the one who lives inside you says he'll never leave you, he'll never desert you. So that means you don't have to leave you, and you don't have to desert you, no matter which way, no matter where you are. The balance is Christ in you. He is the glory, and you get to walk out life with glory, in glory, no matter what you face. I bless you today. This is Donna Reiners. Until next Friday, which I might be on a plane, so I might do Friday Fellowship another day, or I might do it from Columbus. I'll be going to a funeral Friday for those who knew Pastor Lenny Weston. And so we'll see where I'm at in that situation. So until soon, this is Donna. Bless you guys.